Who was Sultan Salahuddin, a Kurd by nationality, and a Muslim who left a great legacy as defender of Islam and just ruler. In young age, he was sent to Damascus during his childhood to complete his education, where he was trained in military techniques by his uncle Shirkuh, in the court of Nuruddin Zengi. Salahuddin became the vizier of Egypt in 1169 and then took full control of the country in 1171. He later built the citadel in Cairo. His conquest of Jerusalem in 1188 prompted the Third Crusade, led by Richard I, also known as Richard the Lionheart, of England. Richard's forces defeated Salahuddin in several battles, but could not retake Jerusalem. Salahuddin and Richard signed an armistice in 1192. The Muslim general's reputation as a chivalrous warrior earned him respect and reverence even from his enemies. Salahuddin is also known for his pivotal role in uniting the then divided Abbasid, Sunni, Baghdad, and Fatimid, Shia, Egypt, caliphates. His legacy as a force for unity stretches to this day, across the Middle East and into Europe. The Salahuddin eagle is seen as a symbol of Arab-Muslim unity and features on the coats of arms of Egypt, Iraq, Palestine and Yemen. The province in Iraq where he was born is now named after him, as is the university in Erbil. Visitors to Damascus can view his statue at the entrance to the city's citadel and visit his place of burial, the Umayyad Mosque in Old Damascus. https://www.aljazeera.com News, 2008. Al-Nazir Salah al-Din Yusuf ibn Ayyub, Romanized, and Nazir Salah ad-Din Yusuf ibn Ayyub, lived between 1137–4 March 1193, better known simply as Salah ad-Din, was a Sunni Muslim Kurd, and the first Sultan of Egypt and Syria and founder of the Ayyubid dynasty. Saladin led the Muslim military campaign against the Crusader states in the Levant. At the height of his power, his sultanate spanned Egypt, Syria, the Jazira, Upper Mesopotamia, the Hejaz, Western Arabia, Yemen, parts of Western North Africa, and Nubia. Sent to Egypt to help the Fatimids. Salahuddin was born in 1137. He got his early training under his illustrious father Najmuddin Ayyub and his chivalrous uncle Asaduddin Shirkuh, who were the trusted lieutenants of Nuruddin Mahmud, the monarch of Syria. Asaduddin Shirkuh, a great warrior general, was the commander of the Syrian force, which had defeated the Crusaders both in Syria and Egypt. Shirkuh entered Egypt in 1167 to meet the challenge of the Fatimid minister Shura, who had allied himself with the French enemy. The marches and countermeasures of the gallant Shirkuh and his ultimate victory at Bab Ain over the Allied force, according to Michaud, show military capacity of the highest order. Ibn Athir writes about it, never has history recorded a more extraordinary event than the rout of the Egyptian force and the French at the littoral by only 1,000 cavaliers. On January 8, 1169, Shirkuh arrived in Cairo, and was appointed as the minister and commander-in-chief by the Fatimid Caliph. But Shirkuh was not destined to enjoy the fruits of his high office long. He died 2 months later in 1169. On his death, his nephew Salahuddin Ayyubi became the prime minister, vizier of Egypt. He soon won the hearts of the people by his liberality and justice, and on the death of the Egyptian caliph became the virtual ruler of Egypt. He changed the rule of the state from Shia to Sunni Orthodox Islam. Battles with Crusaders in the following years, he led forays against the Crusaders in Palestine, commissioned a successful conquest of Yemen, and staved off pro-Fatimid rebellions in Upper Egypt. Not long after Nur ad-Din's death in 1174, Allah give him Rahma, Salahuddin launched his conquest of Syria, peacefully entering Damascus at the request of its governor. By mid-1175, Salahuddin had conquered Hama and Homs, inviting the animosity of other Zengid rulers, the official rulers of Syria's various regions. Soon after, he defeated the Zengid army at the Battle of the Horns of Hama, and was thereafter proclaimed the Sultan of Egypt and Syria, by the Abbasid Caliph al-Mustadi. He was fighting Muslim armies too, so he could unite the Muslims into one state, that's why he became Sultan in Sham. Saladin made further conquests in northern Syria and the Jazira, escaping 2 attempts on his life by assassins, before returning to Egypt in 1177, to address issues there. By 1182, Salahuddin had completed the conquest of Muslim Syria after capturing Aleppo, but ultimately failed to take over the Zengid stronghold of Mosul. Under Salahuddin's command, the Ayyubid army defeated the Crusaders at the decisive Battle of Haddan in 1187, and thereafter wrested control of Palestine, including the city of Jerusalem, from the Crusaders, who had conquered the area 88 years earlier. Although the Crusader kingdom of Jerusalem continued to exist until the late 13th century, its defeat at Haddan marked a turning point in its conflict with the Muslim powers of the region. Salahuddin died in Damascus in 1193, having given away much of his personal wealth to his subjects. He is buried in a mausoleum adjacent to the Umayyad Mosque. Salahuddin has become a prominent figure in Muslim, Arab, Turkish and Kurdish culture, and has been described as the most famous Kurd in history. Events leading to Battle of Haddon. Peace treaty broken by Richard of Chatillon, who attacked a Muslim caravan. There was a truce between the Sultan and the Franks in Palestine, but, according to the French historian Michaud, the Muslims respected their pledged faith, whilst the Christians gave the signal of a new war. Contrary to the terms of the truce, the Christian ruler Renaud or Reginald of Chatillon attacked a Muslim caravan passing by his castle, massacred a large number of people and looted their property. The Sultan was now free to act. By a skillful maneuver, Salahuddin entrapped the powerful enemy forces near the hill of Haddon in 1187, and routed them with heavy losses. The Sultan did allow the Christians to recover and rapidly followed up his victory of Haddon. In a remarkably short time, he reoccupied a large number of cities which were in possession of the Christians, including Nablus, Jericho, Ramla, Caesarea, Arsuf, Jaffa and Beirut. Ascalon, too, submitted after a short siege and was granted generous terms by the kind-hearted Sultan. Sultan Salahuddin Yusuf ibn Ayyub, known as Saladin in the Western world, is widely known as a strong, valiant warrior, who was merciful and kind to his enemies. Salahuddin used to pray 5 times a day, as well as several other times, and he always had an imam with him who would lead him in prayer. However, in the event of an absence of the imam, he would pray behind any other devout researcher or Muslim. He never missed a prayer, save for the 3 days before his death when he had slipped into a coma. He would spend the majority of his savings on sadaqah, discretionary charity, but never had enough that would allow him to pay zakat, mandatory offerings. Despite his constant yearning to perform Hajj, he was not able to due to the fact that he was always involved in fighting the enemies of Islam and needed more cash to perform it. Historian Ibn Shaddad relates, at the point when the English king Richard the Lionheart, who was Salahuddin's most prominent adversary, became sick, Saladin sent products of the soil to him in order to help him recover. The Crusaders, who were eager and desperate, were bewildered at that respectable gesture from their foe. Death of the Sultan. Sultan Salahuddin Ayyubi gave his soul to the angels at the age of 57. At the time, his house was worth 47 dirhams and 1 dinar, and he left no land or other properties behind him. May Allah bless his soul in the afterlife and raise his position in paradise. Ameen. He was buried with his sword, according to his instructions, as it would be a witness for him Judgment Day. He was grateful to Allah Azza wa Jal, who gave victory to Islam through his hand and his army. He used to say, "Praise be to Allah, for he brought victory to Islam through the faithful and was benevolent to Muslims." This was a brief review of the life of one of the greatest heroes of Islam and defenders of faith, Sultan Salahuddin Ayyubi, 1137–4 March 1193. He lied with honor and was buried with honor, as per his great legacy of defender of Islam. Hope you benefited from this review. Please make dua for us. Roots Islamic Homeschool, the History Series.